find mine for a change.
Okay, we
day
are
late.
now live. We're now live, Diane?
Yes, we should be live.
Me too.
Okay, today is Tuesday, January 5th, Revere School Committee organizational meeting, and the time is 5:07. Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Here.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Here.
Mr. Ferranti,
Yeah.
Ms. Gravellisi,
Here.
Mr. Sinella,
Good guess. Here,
Ms. Ty,
Here.
Mayor Rico.
And the mayor just let me know that he's going to be a few minutes late.
Okay. Okay, first agenda item is election of the vice chair. Would anyone like, Mr. Ferranti?
Yeah, I would like to nominate Stacy Rizzo for vice chair.
second,
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
yes,
Ms. Ty,
Yes.
and Mayor Rico is not here.
Did you call my name?
Yeah, I didn't hear you say Mrs.
Oh,
Gravellisi.
I apologize. Ms. Gravellisi,
Yes.
Stacy,
Okay.
for a minute, I thought you were not going to vote for yourself.
She was debating.
I know.
Okay.
I'm trying to enjoy
unanimous.
my life.
Stacy is vice chair. Next agenda item.
Can I have just a moment of personal
yes.
privilege,
Of
please?
course.
And
Yes.
Diane, do you mind sharing your screen?
Not at all. What do you want me to share?
I
Email
can't get it
something to
up.
me?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to make it so you can share?
Yeah, do you mind?
No.
I don't even know where it is, though. So I don't want to hold you up either.
Do you want us to come back when you find it?
Sure, you can do that.
Okay, let us know. when you
Maybe I
find
should have
it.
been prepared.
Well, maybe by the time we finish the second agenda item. Second agenda item is election of secretary, or the nominations for secretary.
Madam Chair, I would like to nominate School Committee Man Anthony D'Ambrosio for the secretary.
Okay, second by Michael Ferranti. Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti,
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
yes,
Ms. Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Rico.
Absent. Mr. Rizzo, have you found the document you wanted to share?
No, of course not. Don't worry.
Okay, moving on. The next
We
agenda
can come
item
back
is
to it.
the school committee operating protocols, which, obviously it is just what it is. It's the protocols that we operate by, kind of our bylaws that I believe we adopt at our next meeting when you have the standing subcommittees in place, Mrs. Rizzo.
Yeah, so what I'll do tonight is send out what we've had in the past.
Mhm.
And that, along with the operating goals
Mhm.
and also the subcommittees, and maybe everyone can look it over. And perhaps not to take up a lot of time for the January committee of the whole meeting, or if people would rather, we can add on 15 minutes and go over those things. Or we can do another committee of the whole meeting in between, whatever the will of the committee is.
That seems fine to me. So,
Yeah.
Which one, Carol?
well, I want to look at everything ahead of time, of course.
Yes.
And as long as we can look at those and make comments prior to it or suggestions, then that's fine with me.
So
Yeah,
we
I mean-
have Robin schedule the cow meeting to start at 4:45
That should be plenty.
and
Yep.
then instead of 5 o'clock. And that's on
If everyone,
the
if everyone does their due diligence ahead of time, we should be fine.
That's fine.
Okay, very good. Welcome, Mayor Arrigo.
My apologies, everyone. Sorry about
That's
that.
Okay. So we just covered the school committee protocol, well, actually started with the vice chair. Mrs. Rizzo was elected secretary, Mr. D'Ambrosio, and we just were talking about our operating protocols and standing subcommittees that we will have presented to us by our next committee of the whole meeting.
Is the mayor allowed to enter his vote on those two elections now for the record?
Of course.
Danielle, do you want to do that roll
Yeah,
call
do
for
you
the
want to
mayor?
read what the vote, what the,
Yes, the first one was election of vice chair, and Stacy Rizzo was nominated.
Mayor Arrigo?
Yes.
And the second one was election of secretary, where Mr. D'Ambrosio was elected, appointed.
Mayor Arrigo?
Yes.
Okay, very good. For the record, it was unanimous on each. Okay, the fifth.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And Sue, I found my PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Rizzo would like to share her screen now.
No, and I apologize for adding this at the last minute. But I was thinking, with so much going on, that perhaps it's a year that we can take the opportunity to concentrate on what we want for work to be done. And hoping that perhaps some of you might think of what you want to accomplish as a group on a whole. So I wanted to share the 4 pillars that I was thinking of, and people might agree, people might not agree, people might want to add their own. Is it up? Share screen. Share
You
screen.
should be able to share.
I did it. I didn't do it. Okay.
It's going now.
So the first one, equality and equity. And we've talked about starting our new advisory group and also a subcommittee on equity. And this is a picture that we are all used to seeing for many years. It might change a little at a time, but the difference between equality and equity, and we need to promote fairness and equality achieved through the treatment of everyone the same regardless of the needs, and treating people differently dependent on the need. We're pretty good in Revere as far as this goes, but I think we really need to put a lot of work. We can talk about COVID. We can talk about trying to get the kids back in the classroom, but we really do have time to work on this as a group. So hopefully this will be something that we can all jump on as a whole. The next one is advocacy. It's the most powerful and critical role that we have as education leaders. We have firsthand understood of what is needed to ensure the best education for public school children. We have important messages to deliver to state and federal legislative leaders, the administration, the media, and our community. Moreover, we are elected officials with visibility. We have put ourselves before the public as leaders. Our colleagues, state legislators, and members of Congress, they understand our role and respect our position. And I think of Catherine Clark right about now in the position that she's in. And as being not only a parent, a PTO leader, and a school committee member, it's just a great time to start jumping in and making connections. This is something that we also are very good at doing. We've always had an open door policy with the speaker, and I hope this can continue. This one, autonomy. Our role is spelled out in the Massachusetts General Law for Chapter 71. We are not a department in the city of Revere. We are elected officials like our mayor, like our city council and state delegation. We are responsible for a budget of over $100 million, the education of over 7,000 students, and the contracts for over 700 staff members. We need to work and respect the positions we have been honored with, and also request that our other local governing bodies respect our positions as we do theirs. Again, I'm not talking about us per se, just as a reminder, and hopefully it can filter out into the public, if anyone knows what I mean. You know, I don't hold back. And just the last thing, accountability. We always think of accountability as making sure we're fiscal responsibilities and stuff, but this is a time that we need to chart a vision for how education can emerge stronger from the global crisis, and propose a path for capitalizing on education's newfound support from every community in the globe. I believe our students need to be in school in some way, and we need all stakeholders to put our personal positions on the sidelines and just come together and work at the table to do what's best for our students. So I am hoping that we can have some attention to these 4 pillars, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks, people might think about what they might want to bring to the table so that we can work as a group to do what's best for our students in Revere. I thank you for your time. Sorry for my voice, but that's what I hope.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that PowerPoint, Stacy. And, you know, we all do want to work together as a committee, and as we always have. Next agenda item, Dr. Kelly, the SOA plan.
Sure. So I had shared with the committee a draft of, we have to formally enter our Student Opportunity Act plan by January 15th, and it requires a vote of this body before it can be submitted. So I drafted one. In my mind, it's a bit strange that we're submitting SOA plans and budgets when none of the money from that act materialized in FY21. You'll recall that originally our plans were due in the spring, just around the time that COVID hit. And so we had started doing work to put a plan together and start to develop a budget. We had anticipated that we would get $7.2 million in additional funding. We did a community forum. We actually had over 120 people participate. All of you were there. It was in the Learning Commons at Revere High School. And we set about identifying priority areas. And I'm thankful that we had the opportunity to have that meeting, because we were able to engage the voices of teachers and parents and students and all of you. And we're still able to use that data, and we're able to use that data to define our district improvement plan. And so what we did for our Student Opportunity Act plan, because it ended up being that there was no money with it, was we identified, and you all worked with us on this throughout the summer, some priority areas, and used some of the grant funding that we got because of COVID, like the CARES Act money, the ESSER grant, the CVRF grant, and others, to implement some of the priorities that came out of that planning session, such as the parent liaisons. We still implemented that piece. We were able to do that because of the way some of the grant funding was defined. We were able to make some priority decisions like that. Another was to create Dr. Garcia's position, which enabled us to really focus on the equity and inclusion work. That's been a priority of this committee and also of the school department, and really to formalize that and get moving on our equity audit and our mental health audit that we are planning on hopefully for this spring, and really put some of those key pieces into place, even though we didn't have the Student Opportunity Act funding. So I shared, it was a little bit hard to share because I'm working in an online portal that I have to answer Desi's questions in. So as much as I could, I copied their questions and wrote what answers I submitted for those were, and sent them to the committee along with a draft budget. I did submit a question to Desi the week before the holiday saying, can you give us some guidance on this budget? Because I'm at a loss for how I'm supposed to justify the expenditure of $7.9 million that we didn't receive. And we did know that part of what the Student Opportunity Act seeks to do, it understands that there has been some underfunding in gateway city districts like Revere in the last many years. So they ask that our expenditures are a combination of standing expenses that we've been engaged in for some time, as well as new expenses. So I identified, actually it was a little over $15 million in expenses that Revere uses to fund the activities that are defined in our school improvement plan, which is our Student Opportunity Act plan, sorry, our district improvement plan, which is the framework for our Student Opportunity Act plan, and identified those and isolated them for the committee. So I don't know if that's enough of a summary or if you had any questions about what you read. DESE did finally respond to me today and say that that budget was perfectly fine. It's exactly what they're looking for. So that worked out well. And I'm inclined to, you know, once we have any questions, and then if you want to vote on it, submit that as soon as we can.
Mr. Franti?
Thank you, Susan. Diane, I'm very concerned about what's going on, like everybody else. Reading what you increased the budget from this year to last year, roughly about 1.8 million. And then new positions that were going to be funded for 2021 were about 600,000. And if we do not get the SOA money and there is no grants, how are we going to pay for all this stuff? Especially when you have new expenditures in there that we didn't have last year.
So there are no expenditures in there. I get confused when we say last year and this year and next year. So
what I'm saying is this, I mean, I'll correct it then. Some of the money that's in here was covered under the grants in the CARES Act last year. If
right,
we
this
don't
year,
get
yeah.
that, if we don't get that money and we don't get SOA money, are we going to be able to still do what you want to do with an increase of about almost $2 million from this year to last year, especially when it could be a very lean year in the budget?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things that if the funding doesn't come through for a second year in a row, then we're going to have to think about what we want to prioritize. And, you know, if we want to keep moving in the direction that we're moving in right now, which I think is the right thing to do, that we would have to make decisions around if we're going to keep the parent liaisons in those positions, then we have to allocate a portion of our budget there. So what other thing gets cut out of the budget? And, you know, that's going to be part of our regular budgeting process that we do every year. And, you know, Matt and I will work with the administrative team to put a proposed budget together for the budget subcommittee to look at. I know that right now Matt's working on for the January meeting to give an update on all of the different grant pockets that we had this year, as well as the main budget. There are going to be some pieces there that, depending on how we close out the school year, might represent a larger amount of carry forward than we're typically used to. For example, we did budget transportation money this year, and we are spending some of it based on modified contracts and to transport students who are in out of district placements. But there's a good chunk of money there that if we only get back to school for March till June, well, we budgeted for a whole year. There's going to be some extra money left there. And that's what we'll have to look at, where all of those pockets are, what's going to roll over that might close those gaps for us, Michael, for a little bit of time. I feel strongly that the next administration is going to send some money the way of K-12 education and the way of municipalities. So I do feel like there will be additional funding to help close any learning gaps that might have happened over the school closure period, and that there will be some additional funding there. I don't know if the state is going to be prepared to fully implement what should be year 2 of the Student Opportunity Act. I think that remains to be seen, but I think a piece of that is going to depend on what kind of municipal funding the federal government provides to help cities and towns with the deficits that they're facing because of COVID as well. So definitely there are unanswered questions. If we have a budget that we can't make ends meet and still keep the new positions that we put on this year, then it's gonna be up to this group here to really think about what the priorities need to be and where we're gonna make cuts in order to make a budget balance.
When do you think you would hear about the SOA money?
I
You gotta
think,
take your best guess.
and you know, the mayor might have a better idea on this than I do, but I would think that by the early February, we're gonna have an idea from the federal government on what new stimulus packages are gonna be coming out in the coming months. And that will translate pretty swiftly into the House and the Senate, the local state government, making decisions about where they're gonna make some funding priorities. But all of that happening, we still have to go through until they, you know, we'll have a sense of it in February, probably.
Right.
But we still have to wait until they actually do their work and authorize a budget in order to be sure that it's, the funding is actually there.
I would like to know where the federal government's gonna get the money. They just spent $4 trillion in the last 2 stimulus packages, with potentially another one coming. Where are they gonna get the money? And we already know what the state problems are, you know, financially. So I don't know where all this money's gonna come from unless we just keep borrowing. And then that's how we're gonna do things in this world. But I'm very apprehensive. I mean, I was apprehensive last year. I'm even probably more this year, but you know, hopefully I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to be realistic about the problem that we could potentially have. And, you know, there's no easy answer to anything right now. Everything's just hard work. And I just hope that it does work out, but I'm very apprehensive about it. I hope it works, Diane. I really do.
I do too. I feel like, you know, the one thing that gives me a little bit of encouragement is remember the 5 years prior to us even talking about SOA, we ran into the issue when they changed the definition of poverty from low income to economically disadvantaged, which put us $3 million in the hole. And we fought that fight for 5 years and managed to make a balanced budget each year and still worked on new initiatives and making sure that we were moving forward with our educational plan and doing things better to help kids achieve more. And I feel like if we could struggle through that, then, you know, we at least have a little bit of grit and might have to suffer through a little bit longer.
But it's a different world than what happened last year to this year. Everything's totally changed. We have to hope we can get the kids back somehow to school. It's just a different world right now. What happened 2 years ago and now is unfortunately like night and day. And I just, like I said, I hope it all works out. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Franti. Do any other members? Ms. Rizzo?
Diane, just a question on program 4. You have the mental health audit for $60,000. Did something change? Did we get a grant for it? Because I thought if we didn't have the grant, we weren't going to be able to do it.
We have that grant. It has not gone away. Danielle had that through, I forget which pocket that was in.
Oh, that's great. As long as we have it, I'm happy
But we
with
do
it.
have it. Our delay has been that we didn't know if right now with no students in school, and this was back in August when we were trying to figure out how to get back, and in the middle of a pandemic was the right time to start doing focus groups and interviews around people's mental health status and feelings and all of that, or if doing and really take the temperature of the behavioral health and mental health of the district at a time that we're in the middle of a crisis. And so it's actually been on my list of things to do is to circle back to the expert that we're working with on that project and see what she thinks. As up to now, she's been saying that we should delay until we're back, but I don't know if we're getting to the point that you know, we need to move forward with it, or if we're better off, and I'd defer to her expertise on that, on when the right time is to actually conduct the audit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Does anyone else have any questions for Diane? Now, Diane, you said that plan has to be submitted by January 15th. And you wanted us to vote on that tonight with the information that you gave us, or sometime before the 15th?
I'm hoping that you'll vote on it tonight and I can just get it done.
Okay.
We don't have
do-
another meeting scheduled before the 15th, which is why I thought tonight would be
Right.
a good time to vote on it,
um,
unless people had issues.
Right, our next meeting is the 19th, so if the committee feels comfortable voting, Carol, do you have your hand up? Carol, did you have a question? Oh, she's fixing her phone. If the committee feels comfortable, or if they feel they need more information, we can schedule another meeting next week for the vote.
I'm fine with it, Susan. I'm fine.
I feel comfortable as well. Not sure others.
So I'll make a motion to accept the SOA plan as explained to tonight.
Second,
Roll call?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti,
yes.
Ms. Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Ms. Ty,
Yes,
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Okay, SOA plan has been accepted. And that is the final item on the agenda. I don't see any more questions. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can
I'll
I
make
give
the
one
motion.
more piece of information?
Yes, of course, Dr.
I
Kelly.
did submit a letter to DESI today in opposition to the expansion of Prospect Hill Charter Academy, which is seeking to expand its enrollment capture area to include Revere and other cities and towns. So I did, oh, Carol lost her sound, it looks like. But I did send in a letter saying that we oppose that. I can share that with the committee if you're interested in seeing it.
That would be great. Thank you. We'd
Okay.
appreciate that.
Diane, did you do it as far as the administration?
I'm sorry?
Did you do the letter as administration or as all of us as a whole?
I did it on behalf of the school department.
Okay, maybe we can get Carol, with her no sound right now, and her perfect English grammar to draw up a letter from the school committee to submit ASAP. Would you love to do that, Carol?
Nod
said
your head.
She
Can't
said she
hear
would
us.
love, she said, I would love to do that for you, Stacy, because I think so highly of you.
I don't think she can hear us either.
Well, that's why I threw it in where I could. So, yeah, we'll ask Carol if she can write up something on our behalf to submit sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I believe the public comment period is until January 15th.
Oh, I thought it was next Tuesday, but okay. That's all right.
Okay.
That was this time.
That sounds good.
I'll make a motion to put a letter forward to DESI regarding it.
Second,
Second?
Mrs. Bronston Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Ferranti,
yes.
Ms. Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
Yes.
Ms. Ty. She can't.
Shake your head, Miss Ty.
And Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Sinella?
Before we adjourn, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Susan, for a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Sinella. Thank you all.
Very good, Susan.
Good job.
Thank you. Mayor Arrigo, does Jack want to join us? He keeps popping his head in.
Apologies for that, everyone.
No apologies necessary.
Maybe Jack can make the motion to adjourn.
It's always great to see the children. That's what makes us all smile. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, motion to adjourn at 5:36. We will
Oh, under
see-
limit. That's good.
Yes.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy
Hey,
New Year.
Jack! Hi,
There
Jack!
you are,
How you
Jack. We wanted you to come in and visit us.
Oh, we're still on YouTube.
Oh, that's okay. Where's Joseph?